Okay, my name is Zach Borden, and this is Building Triads for the Mandolin, Part 3. If you didn't get a chance to check out Part 1 and Part 2, I recommend you go and do that. We just went over some basic building blocks of these chords, talked about the first and the third and the fifth of the scales, and we also discussed two shapes. This first shape, again, we're just talking about these nice tidy little 3-finger chords. We're just using 3 strings at a time. And the low note in this shape is the root. So that's spelled root 5 3. Then we just scrambled the notes, moved it to a new place on the neck, and we played the 3, the 1, and the 5. And that sounds like this. So that's shape number 2, or the first inversion. And now for the final shape, we have the 5 in the bass. And that also means that the 3 will now be in the middle, and the root will be up top. One way to remember that chord is that if someone were to ask you, how do you spell a triad? You'd probably say, oh, well, it's made up of the 1 and the 3 and the 5, right? Well, this is just exactly backwards from that. 5, 3, 1. It's just a really easy way to remember it. The 1 is in the top. And so when you go hunting for this chord, it might be helpful to search for it with your pinky, so to speak, on either the A or the E strings. And the reason for that is because you will have, on either of those 2 strings, you will have 2 lower notes to harmonize with it. Does that make sense? So you search for the note, oh, there's my C. And then you just build the shape backwards from that note. And there you go. And you'll always have, if you build that shape like I just did, backwards from the tonic, you'll always have a major chord. And you'll have its 3rd and its 5th. So to make that minor, you just flat the 3, which is in the middle. And there you go. Boom. You have the 3 basic shapes. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. And again, these can go anywhere on the neck. If there's another C available to you, which there is, on the D string way up here, now it's the low of the 3 notes, and you can play a root position again. You see what's happening here? You can move these all over the place. And you might start to realize that the notes or the chords that you've played in the past will have these quality of shapes. So that might look familiar to you, that beginner C. All that is a C with a 5th in the bass in disguise, because you're playing the open note. You don't have to finger it, okay? That's also true for the G chord. That's your beginner G that a lot of people know. Well, that's what that is. How you spell that is 5, which is your D note open. Your finger doesn't have to play it because it's open. And that's 5, 3, 1. To make that minor, you just flat the 3 like you always do. Okay, so that probably looks familiar. People play your G minor like that, right? So, but knowing the degrees within these shapes, that's the real crux of the biscuit, right? So the idea is you really want to get to know the degrees, because those are the things that you change to give it a new color, to give any chord any new color. A lot of different things can be done with these chords, okay? So visit my website, zakborden.com. I teach Skype lessons and in person in the Portland, Oregon area. And, drop me a line and we'll start exploring all kinds of different ways to alter these shapes to get a desired effect. For instance, augmented chords, turning it into the relative minor, or maybe even a dominant 7, or a dominant 7 this way. Or maybe you change a couple of notes by a half step and get a diminished. This is a very powerful tool. So check in with me, drop me a line, and thanks very much for listening, and hopefully we'll see you down the line. Cheers.